I was. Hey, yeah, now we know.
Look at Africa, Jamie, brother, now we know, yeah.
Hey, yeah, now we know.
Look at Mama Liberia.
Oh, yeah, now we know. We are about to know. They told us that they were giving us freedom. They told us that they were bringing freedom to us. But little did we know that that freedom was yeah, from life to death. I don't know what on earth. How can you give life, or how can you give freedom to somebody from life to death? Is that what freedom? I mean, they are alive. And then you say, I'm coming to give you freedom, and then you cut their head off. And when you did, where you did the killing, you leave the body there, you take the head somewhere miles away. For those of you that never experienced war, I know sometimes when we are telling you our stories, Liberians are telling their stories sometimes, you don't really comprehend well. You just think that perhaps this person is just, he or she just read a book. But we saw things in Liberia. We went through things. The freedom that people brought to us from a unit of a family to a separated family. Yes, that's the freedom they brought unto us. They met us together as a family. We were together living life, going on the farm, doing our farming work. Mothers and fathers going, doing their agricultural work. The children are going to school, being sponsored through the products. And they decided to say, no, this is not the life you're supposed to live. So we are bringing freedom to you. And now they brought the freedom. Everything went zero. Today, if others are taking advantage of our situation and bringing us plastic rice in the country, it is because of the freedom you brought to us. When medication is brought in the country and sold on the sidewalks or in marketplaces, that when you take it, you either get sick more than making you better. That is the freedom you brought to us. When our children were going to school and learning book, and the teachers were good, you said, no, you are bringing freedom to us so that we can have quality education. And you brought the freedom now. Education is a mess. That is the freedom you brought onto us. When food was there. But now, had it not been because of your freedom, but now Liberia is exporting rice. Because already people, I saw it in Foya when there's a market day on Saturday. We see people coming from Guinea, from Sierra Leone, from Ivory Coast, coming there to do business, to buy rice, and we buy whatsoever they brought on the market. So the business was booming. Somebody will go on that market day, somebody will go soon in the morning and go to their garden, to their little garden where they have plants or so, they will uproot it or pick it up and then patch it together and bring it in the market. Other people will buy it. But you brought the freedom. Everything is wiped away. When the John F. Kennedy Memorial Hospital was became known as not only the biggest referral hospital in Liberia, but was well known for treating patients. People from other sub-region countries, they were coming in Liberia. They were referring them to Liberia for treatment at the John F. Kennedy Memorial Hospital. But you brought your freedom. Today, JFK is being referred to as just for killing. How can you bring freedom to somebody? They are pregnant. And you tell them, say, come, I know the child, I know the child in your stomach or so. And you begin to argue over it and then get the woman on the floor while she's lying down and crying and begging you for help. You go ahead to split the stomach and take out the child from there. So that's the freedom. From somebody being pregnant to killing them and killing the child. You say you're giving them freedom. Is that a freedom? Is that a freedom that we wanted? The very countries that you went to beg for arms and ammunition to come and kill your own people, those countries, when they are ready for change, they go and stand in the queue on the day of the voting. They go and catch the ballots. They encourage their people to go and catch the ballots so that they can affect the change they want. And through the ballot box, they change what they want to come. And if they want to change the government that be, the government in power, they will go and stand in the queue. They do not go anywhere else. In as much as they are in fact manufacturing arms and ammunition, they do not give it to people and say go in the street and kill so that we can change the government that is in power right now. They go through the ballot box. But yes, you wake up and go and you go into somebody begging them, we can give you, we can do it like a collateral. So we got diamonds, we got golds, we got timbers or so, we got iron ores or so. Whether these products they do have mineral resources they do have prices, so by the end of the day something still coming out of it. And you go, you pawn it. So when we take over, you will come in with your company and you'll be taking your money from inside. How will the nation move forward? The people coming to power, they already finish taking huge debt. So most of the companies are on the ground there. Some of them have, you know, they must have had dealing with the madam years ago. And this is what we are saying. We don't want any of them to go free. Mr. Chancellor in his trial at The Hague, he told us that he himself, Mr. Taylor, Tumbleway, and Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf are the three people that actually put the second MPFL together. And that Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf couldn't go in the bush as a woman, and because at the same time she was already working for a reputable bank in the States, and they decided that then you be doing the fundraising so that the boys in the bush can get food, that whatever we need arms, ammunition, we can we can get the support from there. Mr. Taylor said that because you had tremendous contacts, international contacts, because of her education, where you attended, and because of the areas, the banks you're working in. You know, when you work in a bank, you deal with a lot of people, different people from different backgrounds, rich people, middle rich people, super rich people. And the madam agreed that, so that was her work. The boys were in the bush, Charles Taylor, Tom Oweyu, all of them. But to answer some of you guys' questions, some of you are still asking some kind of I don't know how to put a question. Naive questions. And why didn't we call for the establishment of a war crime code yesterday when Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf was in power? We did call. Some of us did call. Some of us did advocate as we are. But the fact of the matter is, you know very, very well that she had blood on her hands. She got it. She had blood on her hands. And she was in power. So all the yelling were yelling. After some times, it was even had it not been the Akosombo Accord, even the TRC, it was nothing that they're going to pay attention to. But that last peace accord in Ghana, that's the one that actually mandated that the TRC must take place in Liberia. And so she was constrained. And she have to do it. And she did it. Really stupid. She can't be there as a president and then her name is mentioned in the TRC and then at the same time implementing the TRC. First of all, she shouldn't have even gone to stand to be president of Liberia. But some of us asked those questions yesterday. Nobody paid attention. That this is mentioned it is mentioned in the TRC that all of those that participated, that we know, and their name are mentioned in the TRC, they shouldn't stand for the position. For any public position, for that matter. We didn't listen to it. We went to work and gave her the mantle of power. We went to work and elected them as representatives, as senators and things. Stupid people we are. Not even doing the mistake once. We did it twice. At least if the first one was okay and said, well, this madam, now we're ready for you. We're going to pay you now. We're going to pay you. Kick her out of it. But now she's behind bars as well. But we're not relenting. So long let's say 2 of the 3, according to Mr. Taylor, are behind bars, including himself and Tom Oweyu, that Omar will follow. Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf will follow. Liberia will have justice. Up to now, a lot of people in Liberia, their parents would have been alive today. Yes. But the freedom that they brought is the one that carried them out. The freedom they brought unto us. Somebody is telling me, coming boastfully, Prince Johnson is coming to tell us that indeed there is an association right now in Liberia, association of warring factions. God damn it. And he is still somewhere having a 3-course meal every day, that we do not have national security on the ground. We do not have the National Bureau of Investigation. We do not have the police on the ground to question him. Because I know very, very well, if any common man would have made that statement, any common man for that matter, they came together, any common man, or any of them, but now you are in the hands of the police, questioning you. Maybe the government will end up charging you for treason. They will get association of former fighters. You know, just come out and say we have association now of former fighters of whatever warring faction you just call a name, and tell me that the national security will not pick you up. I want somebody to come in defense of Mr. Prince Johnson. That what he said, it is right. It is not a security threat. Association of warring factions, and then naming, heads of warring factions as members or founding members of the association. And then up to now, we can't even hear that this man has been called to answer questions. But now he's supposed to be invited to the police. Immediately, in fact, be invited by the police to go and give statement. That man, Prince Johnson, let me be very frank with you. He doesn't have any remorse. So whatever he says, we have to take it serious. Let me be honest with you people. That thing he's doing there, he says it's a church, he's preaching and this and that. It's a bluff. Trying to brainwash you and say yes. I mean, how can the pastor come out and say those kind of things? If you say you are truly a pastor, you're preaching the gospel, you are there to tell your people that that shall not kill your congregation. And then you come in to tell the same congregation in the church, pronouncing that indeed you have put together an association of warring factions in Liberia. Last time when we heard that Mr. Taylor made a phone call to Liberia, especially to his party leaders. That's the time we heard that he even spoke to President Weah. When he made that pronouncement, he won all the MPFL, former MPFL, back on base. The interpretation from many, many Liberians was very, very concerning. And today we are here. We don't care to talk, to react to what Mr. Johnson is saying. The authority isn't doing anything. Let's continue with documentary here. Thank you. Welcome to the show. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for all of your contribution. And we'll have a read later on. Let's do this this documentary. Who killed the nuns? We know that the Catholic nuns were killed in Liberia. by the time the issue came out, names of warring factions started coming out. They started denying, oh, not MPFL, that MPFL. Oh no, not MPFL. The soldiers in the barrack. Oh, not the soldiers in the barrack. So who killed the nuns? Let's watch this documentary, very short, and perhaps for some of you that are seeing it for the first time, can get some educational thoughts in it. Thank you.
Frontline and ProPublica came to Liberia, West Africa in the summer of 2014. We were investigating crimes committed during the country's brutal civil war, the 14-year bloodbath that began when the warlord Charles Taylor invaded in 1989. Hundreds of thousands died in the war, but one case in particular caught our attention: the killing of 5 American nuns, their deaths still an unsolved mystery. We wanted to know who would kill these women, why had nobody been held responsible, and how could this case have gone unresolved for so long? It was 1992. The war was heating up, and the 5 sisters were on the front lines, tending to the sick and distributing medical supplies. The sisters from the Adorers of the Blood of Christ had lived for years in this convent just outside the capital. Sister Shirley Colmer filmed this home video.
Beyond is the highway.
Sister Barbara Ann Mutra was the best known of the group. She'd come to Liberia 20 years before after a posting in Vietnam during the war. She worked not far from this church in rural Bomi County. One of her closest friends was Father Gary Jenkins.
Barbara could adapt to any situation. She was a strong will, strong mind, and sense of purpose. Whenever I go to complain to her, she'd always say, "Look, Gary, there are no problems in this world, only challenges." And I've never forgotten that, especially during the war.
Sister Barbara was well known for her work with young children.
So every day you give her this much.
Even after the war began, she would often venture out, facing down rebel fighters and talking her way through checkpoints on the way to see her patients. But Sister Barbara began to find herself in harm's way.
This is a letter that Barbara wrote August the 21st, 1992. Dear Gary, something happened. They jumped in the car and told me to get out of the car. It was raining so hard and I was trying to get back in the car, but the soldiers pushed me away. So she suffered, you see. She suffered. A lady by herself like that, 70-year-old, at midnight, still trying to get that car back.
2 months later, Sister Barbara and her 4 colleagues were dead. What exactly happened to the nuns remains in dispute. But 20 years on, some of the basic facts are known. The sisters were killed in 2 separate incidents. First, Sister Barbara and Sister Joelle Colmer died in their car, victims of a rocket attack just a few miles up the road from the convent. The site's still marked by a shrine. There's another shrine here at the convent itself, where the other three were gunned down. Sister Kathleen McGuire at the gate, Sister Shirley Colmer and Sister Agnes Mueller outside the wall of the compound. Their bodies then hacked to pieces.
It was probably close to 2 months before we were able to retrieve the first remains.
Gerald Rose has spent years urging American authorities to take action on the case.
Why? Why did this bother you so much?
Because it happened on my watch. And there is a responsibility for those of us who serve. I have a responsibility, and that responsibility is unfulfilled.
Rose helped repatriate the sisters' bodies. Embassy staff made a catalog of their personal effects. Shirley's rosary beads, Barbara's family photographs, Kathleen's white handkerchief with lace.
There are reports that we can't confirm that they were killed by the MPFL troops. That's Charles Taylor's group. Expatriates in the MPFL territory we know have regularly faced dangers from undisciplined MPFL troops.
Suspicion for the killings fell immediately on the NPFL rebels. But with the war raging, a thorough investigation didn't come until years later. Finally, in 2002, the Liberian Roman Catholic Church tried to get to the bottom of what happened.
I got to hear about it from the Archbishop, who, in fact, was distressed. And I think before his death, the Archbishop knew exactly who the people were, because they had done their homework well enough. But that was an atrocity committed by the NPFL and its operatives.
The church produced a report. It concluded, based on the testimony of 10 eyewitnesses, that 2 of the sisters at the convent were killed by an NPFL fighter. The third was killed by his commander, C.O. Mosquito.
He was one of Taylor's operatives. He's been linked to a number of atrocities. General Mosquito's name is notorious around here.
Call you, is General Mosquito, is it?
General Vamo, commonly as Mosquito.
At the time, Mosquito, born Christopher Vambo, was Taylor's top general in the area.
General or Colonel?
General.
General, okay. Okay, can you tell me what is your unit doing out here in Bonneville?
Here he is talking to reporters just about a month after the sisters died.
Going on strong with our enemy. They are trying to penetrate through about there is no way and everything will crush on them.
We wanted to know, was this the man responsible for the murder of the nuns? And what had become of him? We found Christopher Vambo working as a security guard in the capital.
Are you General Mosquito?
Yes. I'm Christopher Vambo, commonly called General Mosquito.
I'm T. Christian Miller.
It's my pleasure being here.
He was nervous and reluctant to meet, but he agreed to talk in a back room at a downtown restaurant.
They saw the vehicle coming towards them.
He said that his troops had mistaken Sister Barbara's car for the enemy and fired at it with a rocket-propelled grenade.
Carrying a white vehicle with a Catholic sound on a pickup. But this day, they were running a military car. And what for? Nobody knew until today.
Right.
So, the RPG went straight into that pickup. Bam. Because the pickup came from the enemy zone. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Then we showed him the church report and asked him about the murders at the convent.
My sister Kathleen went toward the gates. As she did so, C.O. Mosquito, and that's you, shot her in the arms. She fell, and then he shot her fatally in the neck. He then announced he was going to kill all the white people and promptly killed Mr. Nassar, who's their
That's a lie.
driver.
That's a lie.
That's a lie.
This identical statement, I got a copy of this.
Yeah.
It's a blinking lie. I've answered the question before. I've read this statement before. It's a blinking lie.
General Mosquito said he arrived at the convent that day to find the women already dead.
So when you got there, there was a contingent of NPFL soldiers there.
In defense, yes.
And they call you and said, sir, these people were killed before we arrived.
Yeah. And I did ask, They said, no, Chief, we came here, we met these people dead in the fence already.
His version conflicts with the accounts of at least 3 witnesses, all of whom put him at the scene.
Christopher Vambo was in the one that executed the cardinal, but the cardinal was executed under his command. Under his command, but he was in the one that personally executed them. Yes, I agree to that. If there are charges for that, there's a penalty for that, go ahead or no. But it was seen as the one that executed Cardinal. We'll continue to see it and we'll see who are again. Mr. Taylor.
General Mosquito has never faced any criminal charges related to the killing of the sisters. Without a trial, we are left with the accusations and his denials. But that's not uncommon. To date, Liberia has held no one to account for the crimes committed during the war. Rebel leader Charles Taylor is in prison, but for his role in the war in neighboring Sierra Leone, not in Liberia. Even the most notorious acts have gone unpunished. This is probably the most famous video in Liberia. It's hard to find anyone who hasn't seen it. It shows the torture of Liberia's president, Samuel Doe. The man with the Budweiser is the warlord Prince Johnson.
And I went to see him in this bungalow he lived in, and we were chatting away about this and that. And he said, "Do you want to see my film?" And we all sat down, and the screen flickered into life. And this was the film of the killing of Doe, essentially.
Prince Johnson and his men tortured Doe for hours, even cutting off his ears.
Doe naked, but for his underpants, lying on the floor of the room next to the one we were sitting in. The cruelty of it, the horror of it. I'd never been so speechless, actually. You know, but I didn't feel that I could, I didn't say anything to Prince Johnson after that. Just nothing at all.
Doe finally bled to death. We went looking for Prince Johnson. We found him at this church. He is now a preacher. He's also a senator.
God's glorious promise has always kept my hope alive. When you work for God, He's there to intervene on your behalf in every circumstance. I have no fear. Where do we go from here? We go to heaven. Where do we go from here? We go to hell. It depends on the choice you make.
After the service, we were invited up to his office to talk. We asked him about the killing of Samuel Doe.
You don't understand. Confession already been made. I can never be a minister of God if I don't confess to God. I don't confess to you because I got no business confessing to you.
Why no account? That's no accountability.
You see, well, if I'm in court, then we account. If you prove case against me that you did this and did that, you got to prove because the burden of proof it lies with the accuser.
So you would go to a court if there was a court here in Liberia?
Well, who's going to take me to court? Anybody? I'm ready to go.
So if you were in Liberia, you get accused by a Liberian court, says...
the Liberian court will never accuse me because I've done nothing wrong to be accused.
You've done nothing wrong. Are you denying the video of you killing Doe exists?
The thing is that, why do I deny? You have the video, what I'm seeing. Why do you dwell on issue that is past? I'm seeing that it's...
Because I'm not hearing from you that you thought that was wrong.
I don't even need to say wrong right. I am just telling you, in wars, many things happened.
And this was just something that happened?
It happened. And I'm telling you, you are hurting our peace.
After the war, Liberia went through a truth and reconciliation process with thousands of victims and witnesses giving testimony. The final report recommended more than 100 names for prosecution, with Prince Johnson and General Mosquito both on the list. Late in our trip, we had an interview lined up with the President of Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. We asked her if Liberia had done enough to reckon with its history.
If something comes directly to us as a complaint, as a charge, and someone wants justice because they felt that their rights were infringed upon during any regime, Taylor or otherwise, then we have an obligation as a government to be able to respond to that and to deal with it. But in the absence of that, if we were to go fishing for everything that happened before this government, all of our time would be spent doing that and not moving the country forward.
And so the many crimes of Liberia's long war have gone unresolved, including the case of the 5 American nuns. But the United States did go back and try to find out who was responsible for the deaths. In 2002, the FBI sent a team of agents to Liberia and reportedly zeroed in on a suspect.
And we know who did it?
I don't know, but I know the Federal Bureau of Investigation has that name. They presented a case to the U.S. Attorney, the District of Columbia, and the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia declined to prosecute. We're on duty in the embassy in Monrovia when this happened. Still believe that's a miscarriage of justice.
The U.S. Attorney's Office declined interview requests. In a written statement, they said that despite intense efforts, the statute of limitations had expired for the potential offenses. So, no charges were able. Frontline and ProPublica also asked the FBI to answer questions about the case. They declined. The results of their investigation have never been made public.
Okay, thank you.